Hi, Nafi here. I'm here to talk about planning and iteration in storyboarding. Because I've noticed recently that a lot of storyboards, they'll be technically amazing. They'll have awesome effects that take a lot of ability and vision to create. But the storyboards as a whole may not fit to the map, they may not fit to the song. The experience just might not be that interesting compared to other storyboards. They might not stand out on their own. And a lot of people I talk to have issues with coming up with ideas for their storyboards. So basically, what I want to talk about today is planning your storyboard to help work out ideas as effectively as possible and improve on them while you're making your storyboard. Now, a minute ago, I was showing a bit of my collaboration storyboard with Mao called Fallen Angel. And now, here we have the storyboard for the storyboard. Storyboarding is a terrible name because in the real world, storyboards are used to refer to the plans. They're all drawn out for, like, movies and television and stuff like that. And I don't know what to call it besides the storyboard, so it's the storyboard for the storyboard. Basically, what this does here is I either wrote out what I wanted to happen, or I drew a very high quality sketch of what I envisioned it to look like. What this allows me to do is quickly get my ideas down in the editor, figure out the timing, and then I could easily show it to someone and be like, hey, how does this idea look? Without having to invest like 70 hours or something ridiculous in making it first to get feedback. Although, a lot of mappers aren't really interested in talking about it, they just want the story. Anyways, so yeah, basically what I did was I worked out the color schemes I wanted and like the basic scenes, and that kind of stuff. Most of the purple parts were later scripted by Mao using Storybrew Editor, while I did most of the orange parts. There's quite a few parts here that aren't the same, but that's important because it doesn't need to stay the same. You just need to get that idea down and work it out. Especially this part with my lovely GIMP sketches, which will look a lot different from the final product. Now, besides making this storyboard for the storyboard, there's also a lot of sketches involved, like sketching out, hey, how do I want the wings to look? How do I want the art to look? This ended up being used in the final one for Spooky Swords. Let's see, where's the images I'm looking for? There they are. Planning out a lot of miscellaneous things, like I tried originally to make the text myself, but it didn't look good enough, so I used a font. But I tried. And this design ended up later evolving into the main design that we can see in the chorus here and here. This design went through several versions before it ended up finalized. This was an unused idea that I ended up never going anywhere with. Here is the original sketch for what later, this was basically the second sketch, and I at one point tried to literally trace over it in GIMP to make the image. But it didn't look good at all! It looks terrible! So what I had to do was draw it all out all over again. Frame by frame. And using that same style, I ended up making the other assets that were used in the storyboard, such as this. This was not used, it was more of a concept piece, kind of trying to figure out, hey, what does this angel look like? Hey, what do they look like from the front? How can these scenes be composed? And here you can see the direct comparison images between my amazing sketches and the final artworks that were used in the storyboard itself. Although the hand in this one did not make it into the final. Amazing castle, spoopy angels, swords, and yeah. A big thing about what planning it out let me do was more easily communicate with others. And so now we're going to go through the final version of the storyboard and compare how it looks. If you were paying attention to the sketch in the work in progress version of it, the text was a lot different from what I ended up ultimately using, which is this scrolling piece of parchment paper over a colored background. And yeah, there's a mistake here. This never moves. Nobody noticed it. I don't know how nobody noticed it. This is a mistake, and this is ranked, and it hurts me every time I see it. Because it was supposed to be, like, both this and this would be scrolling to make a seamless loop. But that wasn't needed, and I forgot to delete the other one. Yay! The way this was colored was actually using an old tool made by Ephemeral, which would detect frequencies in the song and automatically apply color commands based off of that. When it comes to subtle effects like this, I think it can work really nicely. And that's just one of the ways where you can use a lot of different tools that are out there for making storyboards. Now this scene is pretty similar to what I drew originally. Mao did the scripting for it, and I gave him all the image assets, told him what colors to use, and all that. The same thing goes for this part. Although the stars moving and flashing to the beat was a mistake, and we liked it, so we kept it. And that's a way that you can, like, make mistakes, experiment with stuff, and work on it in iterations. When it comes to this part, Mao did all of the scripting for these little diamonds that are making the spiral shapes, and then I added these spinny things that flash afterwards, because it felt a little bit plain without much happening. And so, like, when you have something down, you can keep adding to it, keep revising it, keep changing it, until you get something that you really like a lot. Like this. I like this a lot. I did this part too. And then the main concept of the storyboard is the dramatic contrast between the piano parts and the angry, sketchy orange parts, which are made to be as different as possible, where all the purple parts are purple, flat, very consistent, chill. And then all the wubby parts, they're very sketchy, orange, angry looking. This animation was actually drawn by hand, by the way. Let's see if I can find it. I can't find it. There it is. So here we have the GIMP project that I used for making the inverted color images. Basically, they actually look like this. But then you do magic of color modes to do that. So this is the scan. It was actually drawn like half of the image, and then I just mirrored it over like that before. And this was originally drawn on paper. Scanned in, mirrored, and done with fancy stuff to make the effects in the final storyboard. And I did the same thing for the second half as well, where I took my original sketches, scanned them, printed them out again, and then filled them in with pen and marker. Another way which this differs from the storyboard of the storyboard is that the writing for this was supposed to be just like the intro, but no text, just sad. And it's kind of like that, but I also included the animation element from the Kai too to help tie it together, like the piano and the wub parts meeting for the ending. And I know this is a little bit rambly, but oh well. Yeah, like, originally I might have the sketch, then scan it in and edit it, add this nice overlay of the fuzzy background, then add a parchment overlay for texture. So like you go through layer through layer through layer through layer to try to figure things out. And I completely forgot where I was going with this. Oh no. So yeah, that's my ramble on trying to plan for storyboards, except I didn't plan this video at all, so it's terrible and it completely contradicts my point. Hope you enjoyed watching. Bye for now.